A couple things come up for me. One is specifically you mentioned ephedra and cannabis having this kind of like paired relationship. And I don't want to go too deep into this because I want to get back to Soma. But have you tried that combination of ephedra and cannabis?
I have not. It's hard to get a hold of raw ephedra here, right? You know what I mean? You can get a hold of ephedra extracts. And I'm not like super attracted to speedy concoctions, you know? You got to remember, ephedra is like the base for methamphetamine and stuff, right? And it can really speed you up. And there were massive reforms around Hayoma by Zoroaster, a prophet of the massive religion that led to the Zoroastrian religion, caused a huge shift in the religion. And there were, like in his opinion, there were all-night orgies taking place with the consumption of Hayoma. There's probably people really buzzing on ephedra. Now, ephedra is still in the Zoroastrian Hayoma, whereas cannabis is not. But we see in later Zoroastrian texts, such as the Denkard and the Book of Ardu Viraf and the Bundashin, that cannabis was mixed with wine at this time for religious ecstasy. And that's something that Pliny mentioned about the Bactria Margiana area, is these infused wines like Potamoganius and all these different names, but they were clearly infused wines, you know?
Right. So Soma specifically, so you're saying it was brought into, because I know, you know, when you're looking at Shiva and the origins of Shiva, this was, you know, his connections with cannabis seems to be quite clear, and I'd like you to show a little bit about that. But so cannabis made its way down into India, probably from more in China somewhere?
Yeah, well, it came with the, you know, Aryans. It's like they know that in southern India, where the Aryans came into, that cannabis was not grown in that region through the similar type of pollen strata and that sort of thing. And it's thought to have been brought in by these same Aryans who brought in the Vedic religion, right? And they mostly worship Indra, and most of the Soma worship was to Indra. There is a figure in the Vedas that is thought to be Shiva, Rudra, but it's also thought that Shiva and Kali both were indigenous Indian deities worshipped by the Dravidian society that predated the Vedic culture that came into India, right? And that they were adapted into that pantheon, right? Now there's debate about this. And the issue of an Aryan invasion itself is like a hot topic. In India, there's a real national desire to have everything be Indian and everything originating in India. And we see this in China as well as kind of a controversy with these Chinese mummies, because it means that certain cultural things like domestication of the horse, the making of bronze, may have been brought in by Indo-Europeans into China. And they don't like that. A similar situation in India with the nationality there, because you know, the whole racism of the caste system in India, right? It's the lighter you are, the closer you are to those original Aryans, and the darker you are on the lower end of the spectrum you are. And this has been, you know, a massive racist issue, right? So these are pretty touchy issues, right? But the general view is that Shiva and Kali were in India, and then they were adopted into this Vedic pantheon. And you can kind of see a transition happening where Indra, who's the very pinnacle of the Vedic pantheon, he goes into disfavor. You barely even hear about him now. He's a very minor figure in India, and Shiva rises to the top. And all this seems to me to be based around where cannabis disappears in India, so as Soma, you know. And we can see this starting to books like the Sapatatha Brahmana and some of these texts written around in the later Vedic period. They begin to refer to the problems that they're having getting a hold of good Soma. It's showing up by the time it gets there, it's old and ragged. And it's also taxed heavily Vedic culture was very ritualistic. Everything you did, getting married, having a child, buying a cow, had to have prayers, and you had to pay the Vedic priest and blah, blah, blah. Same with Soma. There was a whole Vedic ritual that went with this preparation. People had to be paid out. The Soma vendor had to be paid. Everybody's getting a piece of the action. And it's getting harder and harder to get, as probably it gets more popular too in between. Where it's coming from in India, right? And so substitutions and things start to come into play. And coinciding with this, there's all these reforms with Buddhism. Buddhism was a real reaction to all this ritualism of daily Vedic life, and it got rid of all that. And this is also where we see the ban on alcohol and meat eating taking place, is with the rise of Buddhism, right? And so all this stuff goes by the wayside here, right?
Make sure y'all head over to benjosephstewart.com, become a member. You'll have access to the growing library of deeper dives where I talk about all the stuff that I really can't talk about on YouTube. Make sure you get involved in the Discord chat. That's where a lot of the conversation is happening, talking about new theories, being able to interweave into the greater conversation that is how we awaken infinity. That's our highest potential. And I just want to remind you, you are the most powerful technology ever known to creation. Wield it like an artist with a conscience.